Business is a sport and a competitiveness just like basketball, football, baseball, or anything. And it's the competitiveness. When I was 21 years old, I won my first Cadillac selling Shaklee vitamins. I told myself I wanted to own my first jet at 35. And
did you pull it off?
100%. 100%. And then when I was in my 20s, you know, I said, when that Forbes 400 came out, I said, I want to be on that list one day.
Yeah.
So you got to set yourself goals and try to set yourself apart. Yeah. And I talk about that in the book, is that anybody can set themselves apart. You can be the best sound guy. You can be the best cameraman. You can do certain things and study your field, and then you get a break because you were such a good cameraman, or you're the best sound guy that you got recommended to go on this set and then this set. And then all of a sudden in Hollywood, you're known as the best sound guy.
Yeah.
You can do things to separate yourself from everybody else by just working a little harder.
I have a shirt that I wear. I put a quote on it. Be so good they can't ignore you.
100%.
Need motivation?
Watch the Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, top 10, top 10, 9 to 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tillman Fertitta, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, take care of the consumer.
What are some of the core principles of business that you really, like, if you knew, if I die without my kids understanding these 3 to 5 things, like what would those 3 to 5 things be?
Know your numbers. No matter what business you're looking at, always know your numbers. Number 2, realize that we're not successful if that consumer does not come to us, whether they're eating in your restaurants, whether they're playing in your casino, and whether, if you don't have a good product on that basketball court, the fans are not going to come and buy those tickets, the sponsors aren't going to come, and therefore you're not going to have the money to pay for those good players next year. You're not going to be able to pay Russell Westbrook and James Harden each $40 million a year. You've got to always remember, we're only as good as us taking care of that consumer.
Rule number 3, do what you love.
Find out what you're good at, and I don't care if you're an interviewer or the greatest chef or whatever. Find out what you truly enjoy doing and do it. It's not always about just making money, but take that God-given talent that he gave you, because I believe everybody has a talent that they're better at at that than the majority of the other people.
Rule number 4, be conservative.
Were you ever broke?
I was never broke because I was always conservative. Did I have tough times in the 80s and even in the 90s? Absolutely. But I was never broke. I don't ever want to be broke. That's a scary word, Larry.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5, don't assume.
Don't assume anything. People think if somebody walks in and gives you an answer that it's the right answer. And even when I tell somebody to do something, I don't assume they went and did it. I'll ask them a week later, did you do that I asked you to do? Because that was really important to me. Oh my gosh, I didn't do that. And I think that's the biggest mistake people make, is don't assume that everything's running right. Don't assume anything.
Rule number 6, define your own greatness.
Everybody can't be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And so everybody's got to find that greatness within themselves, and regardless if she's going to go home and tell herself I'm the best camera person, or my regional over there who says, you know what, I'm going to be the best regional and have better numbers and have better restaurants than anybody else. Everybody's got to define their own greatness because different people expect different greatness out of themselves. And that's what makes us all special.
Rule number 7, anticipate for the worst.
How did that urge to be successful work for you? You had to have some failures.
I've had lots of failures, Larry, but I never had that one to bring me down. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of like borrowing money. And this is where so many people make mistakes in business and they drink their own Kool-Aid is anytime I ever gave a bank a pro forma of borrowing money, I always did another pro forma for myself that said worst case scenario. Okay, because that's usually what happens 90% of the time. But people start drinking their own Kool-Aid and thinking that they're smarter and better than they are. And I always ran the numbers on if it is this bad, am I going to still be able to make it through tough times? And I think that's one of the reasons I've been successful. And, I talk about in this the book, there's a paddle for everybody's ass. I have no fear, but I worry about everything. And the day that you don't think that paddle can get you, it will get you.
Rule number 8, position yourself.
What do you say to somebody who goes, that's great, that's his story, but he got lucky? Because there's a lot of people nowadays that say success is luck. What's your rebuttal to that or thoughts?
I have no problem in the world if I don't want to have to do it again, but I truly do believe this, that you always have a little luck, okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you also put yourself in the position to meet that luck, okay?
Yeah.
I got out there and met people that I know have given me advice or helped me along the way or who believed in me, but also did something to put myself in that position.
Yeah.
And I'm very humble in the sense of I'm very thankful of everything, and I can tell you honestly, I've outworked everybody. My team has outworked everybody, and I do believe this. And I know this is a cliche. You can start all over again, and the same people are going to end up with the money.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
so you feel that way.
I really do feel that way.
Yeah.
But now, do I feel that somebody was a tech entrepreneur and was working on an app and some other bigger tech company came along and bought it and they made $50 million? I do think that's luck. But once again, they set themselves up for that luck, even though they didn't have a good product, because they developed it and they found somebody that was a greater fool to buy it from.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were lucky, but they weren't lucky because they put themselves in a position still, right?
Rule number 9, learn how to make decisions.
Let's say I'm one of your kids. I want to take over the business one day. How are you going to help me absorb the business fundamentals? Is it just follow you around? Is it you're going to hand me a list of Tillmanisms? Like, what does that process look like?
This is a really great question that you just asked, because I've had people say to me, why don't you let your kids work for me for a while instead of just working for you? And then other people say you should put them in one department and let them learn that department. And you know what I've said, and I really think I'm doing it right, and we'll see, only time will tell. There's so many departments. You're talking about a $4 billion revenue company with 60,000 employees and $700 million in EBITDA that does everything from, I have 25 biologists that work for me at aquariums. So everything from aquariums to amusement parks to 5 casinos to restaurants to an NBA basketball team, okay? Just everything you can think of. I'm teaching them to make decisions because that's really what it's all about, is learn how to make decisions, see how I make decisions every day about everything, whether it's a little decision or a big decision. And they've been doing that with me, and they're pretty smart. We don't know that we could run this without you. So it's kind of interesting because it's them sitting in meetings and seeing how I make decisions is the best thing I can do for them, instead of learning one little department.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is don't give up power.
I've never been one to try to make my kids something that they aren't, and so you're going to go play baseball, or you're going to take piano lessons, or you're going to. We've always kind of let them do whatever they wanted to do, but at the same time, you know, I've taught them it's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice, and I've taught them even today. I just said, they've learned a lot too, where I'm very observant. They've learned a lot by watching other families that have money. Right. And I've told them, you see what all these people do? They go and the next generations become recluses and really don't want to be bothered because they don't want people asking them. And they've lost their power and their juice. Okay? Right. Y'all can have this power and juice in this city, in this state, in this country for the next 100 years. Wow. Don't give it up. Wow. Don't become a recluse just because, you don't have to do something every day, and stay relevant. Sure. So many rich families, you go look at all your great wealthy families and look at the generations below them that just kind of live in a cave.
Live off the money that keeps coming
in, or whatever, and they're not relevant anymore.
Why is it important to stay relevant?
I just think it's important to stay relevant. I think it's relevant to continue philanthropy and give back to your community. And there's nothing wrong with being a leader in your community. And just because I'm still on boards that I was on, 10, 15 years ago, and it's just, well, now that I'm worth a few $1 billion, I should change. Why should I change? My ego that, you shouldn't be on the Better Business Bureau board. That's no big deal. That's when you're up and coming, or I've just never changed. I've just never changed.
Now, I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the good deed of the day. This is something new. I believe that you're built to serve, and it feels so good to do something nice for somebody else. So good deed of the day, put down in the comments one thing that you need help with, that you're working on, that you love some support or guidance on. And then 2, go comment on somebody else's comment and give them some love, give them some support, give them some encouragement, maybe give them some connections, try to help them solve that problem, even if it's saying, I believe in you. That one little bit of encouragement can be the difference between somebody quitting and continuing on. So the good deed of the day, in the comments below, write down one thing that you need help on, that you're struggling with, that you're working on. And then part 2 is go give love to somebody else in the comments too, and let them know that you believe in them as well.
I always wanted to succeed. I wish I wouldn't have dropped out of college because I was making money, because I only had like 32 hours to go. But you know what? But now I'm the longest running chairman of the Board of Regents of that university, so it really doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that bothered me for a long time, that I never finished school. But then as you become more and more successful and you see all these other guys in the Forbes 400 too that never finished school, because there's something in us that we just can't have those handcuffs on it. We're making money, and I can't deal with going to class. I gotta make money. And when I was 21 years old, I was already making, a couple $100,000 a year. That's big money back then.
Back in what, the
80s, the early 80s.
Wow, that's big money.
Big money. And people don't realize that when you say I was making a couple $100,000, but that was big money.
And when you think about the fundamentals of a business, when you're going in to evaluate a deal or whatever, what key things do you look for?
Well, everything is occupancy cost, term of lease. Do they own any real estate? What are their margins? I'm not real smart, but I know how to do that. Okay, I can analyze the numbers of any business and tell you what your margin should be or whatever, because my production cost is this, I have this many subscribers, you should be doing this or that, and I don't care what the business is. So that's what I know how to do. And so if I try to make the right deal and I do heavy due diligence, and then hopefully you can continue to grow your net worth. This is the problem with college, and is that they teach you the theoretical side of everything for the person that's working for you, but it doesn't teach you to be the CEO, the practical side, and the young entrepreneur, whether you're trying to go up the corporate ladder or you are doing it your own. And it's just the simple things of, and these are some of my great Tillmanisms from the book, and why HarperCollins came to me and asked me to write this book was, know your numbers, okay? You've got to know your numbers. There are no spare customers. We're all in a consumer business. People watching this podcast for you or me serving casino customers, restaurant customers, hotel customers. There are no spare customers. We're all after the same consumer. To the 95-5 rule, that 95% of everything is right. So look for the 5% that's wrong. I think you know if you know business or not. And people ask me, should I go get my MBA? And you know what I usually tell them? You know if you need to go get your MBA. If you don't have it inside of you and you understand economics and finance and operations of business, then you need to go get it. I knew that I didn't need it. It was just a God-given gift. But also, remember, I didn't get a lot of those other gifts. Don't ask me to play that guitar. Don't ask me to sing you a song. And don't ask me to draw you anything. But you've got to know your God-given gifts. And everybody has it. Everybody in this room has it right here. So do what you know was your God-given gift and find a way to use that as your path.
I know there's a paddle for everybody's ass, and I talk about it in the book, and I think that's probably, you know, what I could give everybody out there who's ever made a few dollars. You better watch for it. Even today, you know, and I came out yesterday, was number 140 on the Forbes list, 4.9 billion. I still get up every day and worry if that paddle is going to get my ass. Wow. Okay. And the day you stop worrying and you just spin freely, the paddle's going to get you, because you don't know what's going to happen. Is our government going to change to a socialist government? Is all of a sudden somebody going to come out and the millennials say we're never going to eat meat again?
Right.
You know, you just don't know. But we've seen some crazy things happen in our world and during my lifetime and in your lifetime already. Yeah. So remember, I mean, I'm the one who grew up and you had one telephone and in the house and if you wanted to talk to your friends, you went to that telephone and it was just a different world. I am part of who I am is because of relationships and relationships in the investment banking world. And you mentioned somebody a few minutes ago that's friends with both of us. They were always there for me. Now I always performed, and if you perform, people want to be there for you. Had other great relationships in the M&A world that worked with me when I was looking at deals because they knew I was credible. But having great relationships in the investment banking world that you developed. And I told one of them once, I said, you got to make your friends your friends. And you got to know who to trust and who have faith in. But absolutely, I would not be where I am today without relationships, because we knew we could always count on each other. Take the word no out of your damn vocabulary. Why does everybody say no in the hospitality business? It's 11:02, and I've called down to order breakfast because I was on a business call, and they say, I'm sorry, sir, we don't serve breakfast anymore. That's fine. I don't want an Eggs Benedict. I don't want a Spanish omelet. I don't want a waffle. Just throw a couple of eggs in a skillet, scramble them, and send them up with one of those pieces of bacon that you've got cooked for that club sandwich. No, sir, we don't serve breakfast anymore. Well, you're going to throw a piece of chicken or a hamburger in that skillet for that chicken salad or that hamburger. Just throw me a couple of eggs that are sitting right there in that refrigerator. I'm sorry, sir, we don't serve breakfast anymore. Why do we feel like we have to say no? Yeah. Okay? So I try to live by, because I know I'm after that customer. There are no spare customers. That consumer, we don't tell our customer no. Okay? And especially in LA, a lot of these super chef-driven restaurants, there's a restaurant in town that will only serve a steak medium rare. And I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not ever going to go after a competitor. But you're going to tell me how to order your steak? Yeah. And that's part of the society today is we're not worried about hospitality anymore or service anymore. A lot of the most expensive hotels now are these minimalistic hotels where they don't have any service. They don't have anything. Yeah. But I'm paying more for a room there than a 5-star hotel. The most expensive hotels now are not your 5-star hotels. Yeah. They're minimalistic hotels that can't even get 2-star. Yeah. What happened to service and hospitality? I've made myself, understand IT, information technology. And if you talk to any CEO of any company, they'll tell you that's the one department that you do not want to, because no matter who you bring in, everybody has their own way of doing it. And I've just still made myself understand technology, even though I'm not a millennial. I try to at least know a little bit about every single department, even if I don't know it a lot.
And so walk me through, you want to learn about IT, what do? You Googling it, or do you go sit down with the head of IT and say, teach me everything?
No, I want to know everything. I want to understand this malware, how people are getting into all of our systems and hacking us. And
What's your process for learning, though?
Just sitting down and say, you got to make me smarter on this. You got to help me through these steps because I don't get it. Don't go into too much minutia because you'll lose me because I'm not that smart. But you got to give me the steps of why this is happening or not happening. And that's something that everybody should do. You don't have to understand, that I'm going to go and be able to program something or write something. But we should all, if we're running a company, understand some portion of it. When I'm shooting $1 Billion Buyer, I know what all these different people do and exactly what they're doing and how important, each person is. And it's just trying to understand what you do, and it makes you appreciate that person and how smart they are at that job too, and how important they are to your company.
Why should someone like myself or a business owner get a line of credit, get cash out, even if they're already thriving and doing well and they've got cash in the bank? What's the importance of that?
Well, everybody does different things, and you got to do with what you're comfortable with. And I've always been comfortable with borrowing money, but that's also my success because the way you look at unless you're a tech baby again, the world was created because of leverage finance, okay? Right. There's the reason that you had, all the tech companies and the media companies and the great big casinos in Vegas, the things that cost billions of dollars.
They had to raise a lot of money.
You did it with leverage finance, with my good friend in California, Michael Milken, really came up with. But that's why there was such an explosiveness in the 80s because of leverage finance. I've always been scared of debt, but I haven't been scared of debt. I never had a problem with using it, but I talk in my book this is the problem that we all do, is say you have a small business and you want to go out and borrow some money, and you do a pro forma for the bank, a budget, to keep it simple for people. People always give a budget that is the best case scenario, and they start to drink their own Kool-Aid and think that's what they're going to do. Well, one of the things
the projections, here's what we're going to do in 3 years and 5 years.
Yeah, or even next year. And what I've always done is I've done that for the bank. But even today, in a deal that I bought last week, I want a worst case scenario. Wow. The world's coming apart, okay? And all of a sudden, all your expense accounts are gone, and are people still going to eat steaks? Yeah. And I run a budget and a pro forma based on that. Wow. So best case scenario, worst case scenario. Because you know what happens 80% of the time? The worst case scenario.
Really?
Yes, that's just life.
Right.
And that's a tool that I've always used, because what happens is they give that to the bank or to whoever, and all of a sudden you start drinking your own Kool-Aid like that's easy to do. It's not easy to do. Being successful in business is not easy.
Yeah.
But that's why I talk about just simple tools in here. When HarperCollins came to me, they didn't say, we want a life story. We see you on your show. We see you on these business talk shows. We read these articles. We want you to write about your tools, why you've never failed and you've made it through all these recessions. Whether you're a corporate person or you're an entrepreneur.
Also, people tell me that the restaurant business is the toughest business to run from afar. How can you run 18 restaurants?
Well, I'll run 600.
How can you?
It's systems and controls, and you've got to have a strong culture, and you've got to have a good HR department. And I've been successful because not only do I open up a lot of restaurants, I've bought a lot of restaurant companies because upstairs the management wasn't doing a good job. I mean, just in the LA area, look at all the restaurant companies that I own. Everything from Mastro's to Catch to Martin's to Bubba Gump to Rainforest to...
You own Catch?
Yes, I own 50% of Catch.
Not doing bad.
Not doing bad at all. Either is that Mastro's over there in Beverly Hills.
A lot of fun, too.
A lot of fun. It's great to own great restaurants, and I love being in the gaming business. I own the 5 Golden Nugget casinos, and it's been good. It's been good. You better put a damn good product out there on that court, or you know what? You're going to look up there in those seats, And I'm not going to have any butts in them, no different than a casino or a hotel or a restaurant. So you got to always work to keep a good product on the court. You've got to always do that to take care of your sponsors. And at the end of the year last year, the same thing I use in all my businesses, the 95-5 rule, 95% of everything is right. Look for the 5% that's wrong. And I sat there and sat down with the head coach and the basketball ops people, and I said, what can we do to make us better? We're 95% right, okay? We won more games in the last 2 years than in the history of the franchise. What's that 5% we need? And we decided we needed a little more athleticism. Okay. We needed a little.
You got that in Russell Westbrook.
You damn
boy.
right. Here's a guy that the greatest fast break transition player in the history of the game, a tremendous athlete to speed the game up for us a little bit in transition. And so I think that we got that 5%. So let's see if we can put that chemistry together and go out on that court and get it done.
You mentioned people are looking at the wrong things. They're thinking about the price or the other things. What should they be thinking about if they want to acquire something? Whether you're a small business owner that wants to acquire something for $100,000, or you're, a billionaire like yourself trying to acquire something for $2.2 billion. What is the thing they look for?
Well, if it's something that you really, really want and you can afford it and it doesn't really matter, you should just go get it. Okay.
Why? Is that for the peace of mind?
Just for the peace of mind, and so you never regret it. Okay. I can go back 20, 25 years ago, and I've been asked this the last few days. I had a chance to buy this unbelievable car collection about 25 years ago that had great muscle cars right when they were, it was unbelievable. And I was really buying it at a bargain because the father had died, the son was selling it, didn't give a damn. And I lost a deal over a couple $100,000 that today, if I owned that, I would just walk in there and say, this is mine. I just love it. And I learned a lesson. And 25 years later, that's the one deal that comes back and haunts me because I negotiated a little bit too hard for something that really mattered. Now, let's look at a box of a real business deal. You can't get caught up emotionally. There's always another deal. And I walk away from deals all the time.
Really?
All the time. Because there's always another deal. But you know what? There's only so many great car collections. There's only one NBA team in your own hometown, okay? And so there's certain things you don't worry about. And that's where you have to be smart and say, there's always another casino to buy or another restaurant company to buy, but keep it right. Know what's in the box and know what's out of the box.
I don't care how good your product is. If you don't know your numbers, and I can talk to somebody for a minute and a half and start quizzing you about your business, and I can know real quick, how much is your receivables, what's your payables, what is your cost of sales, what is your labor cost, and if they don't know those numbers, they're going to go out of business unless they just happen to have a product that is just flying off the shelf everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you have to know your numbers to be successful.
Tell people your concept of the paddle.
Well, there's a paddle for everybody's ass. We all know that. And every day you just get up, and I don't fear anything, but I worry about everything. And the day you stop worrying in good times, the paddle will get your behind. And so as great as things are in life, I know you're only a few steps or a few incidents away from something bad happening. You can never forget it.
Did you have fear as a kid and you just got into enough business scuffles that you figured your way through things, or have you always been fearless?
I'm pretty fearless, but I do worry about everything. But once again, the book, and this is why Harper's asked me to write the book because of all my Tillmanisms, you got to know what you know and what you don't know. And I knew that I understood business. Now, don't ask me to, go win an Emmy. I took guitar lessons for 4 years, and I still struggle playing a guitar. I can't draw a stick person very good, but I knew that I understood business. So I know what I know, and I know how to do due diligence on a deal. I don't worry about making a bad deal because I feel like that's what I know. So no fear when it comes to that. If you don't put a good product out on the floor, then the people aren't going to come in your seats. And it's no different in being in a restaurant or a hotel or a casino that you're not going to get that customer if you don't give them a good product.
Yeah.
Because once again, in a city like Houston, you have so much of the entertainment dollar from the museums to the shows to other sports teams. So you've got to you've always got to put the best you can do, and that's what I try to do no matter what my business is. You know, the 95-5 rule, there
What's
are no
that?
spare, 95% of everything we do is right every day in business. But look for the 5% you do wrong, and that's what makes you better than everybody
Interesting.
else. There are no spare customers, okay? It's a competitive world in every one of our businesses. Take no out of your damn vocabulary. You're on a business trip, and it's 11:02. You hang up the phone and on a call, and you call down to order some breakfast, and they say, "I'm sorry, sir, we don't serve breakfast anymore." I say, "That's okay, no problem. I don't need a waffle or an eggs Benedict. Just throw a couple eggs in a skillet and send them up scrambled, however it's easy for you to do. I'm sorry, sir, we don't serve breakfast." Why are you telling me no? I didn't ask you for anything special. You're going to throw a burger in the pan. Just throw me a couple of eggs and take care of me. B, you're in the hospitality business, okay? And you're telling me no. And everybody's in the hospitality business no matter what they do. You take care of your customer, okay? You take care of your customer. It's no different than we walk in and your people meet us polite. You put a welcome up on the screen. You come in here, everybody couldn't be, "Can I get you some water?" Tell me, can I do this for you? You're in the service business. I guess when I first was really going in the 80s, you hit that horrible recession, and people talk about how did banks get so big, because the government took a few of the big banks and said, "You're going to take the good assets and we're going to take all the bad assets." And that's why you have banks that are too big to fail today, because they're roll-ups of bank after bank. And the late 80s were tough, and I was getting going, and you just realize when other people were filing bankruptcy, you just got to keep punching and punching and punching. And people don't realize how much you can take, and if you just keep punching and find a way to get out of the mess.
You know what's funny is I've never had a burnout ever. I've been going like this for a long time,
decades,
35, 40 years.
Wow.
Even. I mean, I started going at it in my teens hard, and I never had that burnout. And I think that's kind of a state of mind that if you're going to get burnt out if you want to get burnt out, but I always was going like this, and so I just kind of felt like I'm so fortunate to have it going. Why should I ever let the momentum go the other way? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, one of my great sayings is there's positive people and negative people. And when you're with a negative person or you're with a positive person, one of two things is going to happen. The negative person is going to make the positive person negative, or you're going to take the negative person and make them positive. So I've always paid attention to who I've always been around also. And I never wanted to be around people that didn't want to achieve.
How do you advise people to build relationships, not just transactions, but build relationships that help you become wealthier and more successful?
Okay, that is, I can tell you this, okay, and I am part of who I am is because of relationships, and relationships in the investment banking world. And you mentioned somebody a few minutes ago that's friends with both of us. They were always there for me. Now, I always performed, and if you perform, people want to be there for you. I had other great relationships in the M&A world that worked with me when I was looking at deals because they knew I was credible. But having great relationships in the investment banking world that you developed, and I told one of them once, I said, you got to make your friends your friends, and you got to know who to trust and who have faith in. But absolutely, I would not be where I am today without relationships, because we knew we could always count on each other. I think I definitely got the DNA gene and understood business, but at the same time, I've been a sponge. And I'll look and watch everything and pay attention. And every day I get up, I look for mistakes and what I can learn that day. You don't ever think that you know it all, because you don't. And so every day is still a learning process. And you can't ever get caught up with who you are, because you're worth a few $1 billion and you have an extremely large company.
I have to say, I never had that big, hit over the head with where I had to sell a car or sell a house or whatever because things weren't going well. And yet I've been through some tough times. Yeah. But also, and I talk about this in the book, don't ever outlive where you are in your business life. And
what's that mean?
What that means is that there's so many people that get a little success in a business and they go get a lifestyle that is bigger than the business. And then all of a sudden the business takes a dip a little bit, and they've got to keep up this lifestyle, so they're sucking more money out of the business than they should. You know, I complain to my people all the time. I'm poor. I don't have any money because I always put everything back in the business, and I just try to take out a few crumbs to live on. Because I've always made the business first and not me first. But that's why I have a great business and I own 100% of it, so it really doesn't matter. But a lot of people start with a company and they become entrepreneurs. They get some success and they're buying more houses than they can afford, or more cars, or art, or they philanthropy. Oh, I want to be recognized for giving this away. And then all of a sudden their business dips and they can't do it anymore. And then their business fails because they took all the money out and they're not putting it back in because they're trying to keep their lifestyle. I always made my business number one. I never put myself ahead of my business. And that's one of the reasons I've gone like this.
You're not an optimist, you're not a pessimist, you're a realist.
No, I'm 100%. And I think I told somebody about this, I think yesterday. I'm driving in the car, and I said, I don't think because I own something it's worth more. Okay, you know how everybody think, oh, well, my house is worth more, my boat's worth more, when they're trying to sell it.
Right.
I'm a realist. It's only worth this. Oh, I know. I sold Concept last year, and he said, you know, you were right on. It's just, that's all it was worth. But everybody thought it was worth more, but that's truly all it was worth.
Yeah.
And I owned it, and I sold it. But people have got to be a realist of what their talents are, what their abilities are, and do your due diligence always.
If you want another amazing Tillman Fertitta video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There are no spare customers. We're all after the same consumer. To the 95-5 rule, that 95% of everything is right. So look for the 5% that's wrong.
I want a worst case scenario.
Wow.
The world's